This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us here today to talk more, obviously, about, basically holistic living, energy healing, natural healing, and so much more. Selene joining us here live from California and Ensele to talk more about all these amazing modalities she does. And I know from speaking to her in the past, it shocks even those in the regular medical field at times, and including myself. But holistic wellness is your focus. Would you mind introducing yourself to everyone today to start?
Yes, hi. Again, Selene Kepila, and I am a recognized leader in the natural healing and holistic community. And I actually regard ourselves as one of a world leader for bringing all these types of modalities, these very advanced technologies and systems together. So excited to be here. Thank you, Jill. Always great to see
No, thank you. I mean, the stories I've heard from her, if you missed some of the past podcasts, you have to watch them. You have to check out her website. I mean, these are pretty amazing stories. People that are healing from chronic pain, even I could say this, from cancer, from different modalities, people who thought maybe they had a learning disability. No, now it's solved. Parasites. I mean, no, losing vision and then it's a parasite. There's all these different modalities. And I love speaking with you because you are just naturally, you're just innately care about helping so many. So let's get started and talk more about your Center for, Natural Healing, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem. We have been, well, as long as I can remember, I have been offering holistic solutions outside of the typical medication and surgery options. I always try to encourage people, have you heard of going the natural way? And a lot of people, kind of poo-poo that. They are not very familiar. We're becoming more and more familiar for sure. But I remember when I used to go to the doctor, even, if I would mention I'm on herbs or essential oils or I do yoga, I mean, I'm talking back in the day, the doctors were like, what the heck? But now it's very, pretty common. If you mention to your doctor you meditate or you do yoga or, you're taking natural supplements, your doctor's not going to flip out.
Yeah.
But if you happen to mention that, you don't want to do chemotherapy and
Yeah.
radiation, your doctor is going to flip out. If you
Yeah.
mention that you're not going to take the medicine that they are recommending or medicines for reasons that are quite known, the side effects, etc., doctors are going to have a little bit of a
Yeah.
problem with this. And, as I was saying, I have no issue with doctors and nurses. I find that they are great souls on this earth and helping us in many ways. But again, their training is limited, and it's not their fault. They are really told to stay in a box. Medicines, surgeries, that's it. And a lot of times, the unfortunate thing is they're corrupted by our pharmaceutical company, which is a big business here, and it supports our government. It supports a lot of things that we are not even aware of. So, there are, things that shouldn't go on. The one thing that I will say, and this is going to shock you like nothing else. I mean, I think I've always brought several shocking things to your attention, but for those who are listening, let's go back, rewind, COVID, right?
Yeah.
There was, from the top down, again, this was, again, a lot of things that happened in our United States society are top down driven, like, introducing trans into, grade school and kindergartens. I mean, I think we all saw the outrage of that. That was too much, but it wasn't the teachers who decided to do this. It wasn't the school systems that decided to do this. They were told to do certain things, and they followed that because
Yeah.
threatened otherwise. So there's these certain agendas that, if you do your digging, if you look beyond, mainstream media, you will find a lot of information that is not shared with you, but it's there, absolutely there. If you want to use ChatGPT to find out things, you can go on Telegram. There's a lot of
Yeah.
information out there that if you are truly curious about the other side of the truth, because there's always two sides, you can find what you need to find. And it is somewhat scary, actually. But the story I want to tell you is something super shocking.
Sure.
When it was COVID time, we were, a lot of people were locked down from their businesses. We were trying to figure out a way to stay open to help people for free during this very crazy time. And a lot of times, people would go into hospitals and they wouldn't come home. There was a kind of like a success fee, so to speak, for
Wow.
hospital that the anybody who they would mark off that you died of COVID, they got an extra $100,000 towards their hospital. So this became a money-making kind of scheme. And so they, this is absolutely true. And so I happened to know a traveling nurse, and she traveled from many hospitals to many hospitals. And I even had clients who were of all age ranges, but even especially surprising, the older community, like, people who were in their 70s, 80s, didn't want to go to the hospital because their neighbors weren't coming home from the hospital during this time. They were just dying. So, and it was known that, a lot of people who were in the hospitals were put on respirators. And
Okay.
this was actually not a good thing for
Okay.
be put on. But what happened was when people were put on respirators, they began to have strokes. And then they were ordered to, now watch, put them down. The nurse that I spoke with, they were told to put people down so that they could log that, they had another death from COVID, and so
Mm.
it's difficult. It's almost impossible for a doctor when they see somebody with a brain aneurysm, a stroke, or a heart attack, or cancer, or the uprise of AIDS and HIV, to tie it back to COVID, which we absolutely can, because we have the before and after and the technology that can see, all right, here's you before the
Yeah.
vaccination and you after the vaccination. And we saw 100% without a doubt the detriment that that did. But it was absolutely terrifying to actually hear from a very experienced traveling nurse was been to more than one hospital, that this was the agenda. This was what was ordered for them to do. And there was a lot of doctors and a lot of nurses, a lot of staff that, quit during this time. They lost faith. They lost, just they were threatened, and also to take the vaccination. Okay, we helped many people to save their jobs. They were 35 years at a law firm, or they were a nurse, or they were a school teacher, and we did help a lot of people find other avenues to get around, that rule that if you don't take the vaccination, you're terminated, etc. And
Yeah.
now that we've gotten past all of that, and we looking back, we can learn a lot of lessons. We can learn, um, we can learn a lot. And I don't believe that this will be the last of it. I wish I could say that, but um, because I'm now really kind of knowing where to tap in for different information, I know that I do feel that we will go through other crazy times like this. But I really want to express one thing, that we can't live in fear. That this is exactly what drove a lot of people to get vaccinated, to vaccinate their children, to, get the vaccination and lose their jobs, you know. And so there's always a way, another way. There's always a silver lining. There's always a back door, I say. If you
Hmm.
work hard enough, there are options. And this is also translates to our health. When we are sick, when we get diagnosed with a disease, a lot of people come to us and they are like, well, um, my doctor says that we had this one 30-year-old. She was 30 years old and she was told she had um, bladder cancer and she was going to have to wear a bag for the rest of her life because they were going to have to remove her bladder. And you know, I told her, don't worry, everything's going to work out. And, you know, we did the scan on her, which just basically shows us what's going on with the bladder. It showed that she had a cyst at the opening of her bladder, which would cause very painful urination. And, you know, I basically said, you look, why don't you get another opinion? Because our scan does not show you have bladder cancer. Yes, you do have a benign cyst on your bladder, but there's no reason you should be getting this removed. So instead of just blindly, you know, we just blindly trust doctors. And unfortunately, because of these higher influences, we just have to be very careful and we have to not operate out of fear. We have to take our time to really get a second opinion and not panic so we can make the best decision. And unfortunately, I mean, the story ends well. You know, her oncologist was refusing to give her medical records back because, you know, they wanted to do the surgery. It was, you know, money in their pockets. And then she actually went into the emergency room, wherein there was a new set of doctors, and they had to, you know, take this under their own hands. And they found out that yes, this was just a cyst. It was removed even non-invasively through their lasers, and then she was good. But you know, just as another example of we have to really take a stop and get a second opinion or third and really stop operating out of fear. That will lead us in every case down the wrong direction. And if I can't emphasize it enough in these last couple of stories that I told you, real life, true stories, I have many. But yeah, they're out there. It's real and it's scary.
Oh my goodness. And, you know, each and every time I talk to you, I learn more and more. And these are the clients, these are the stories to hear about your clients that are just life changing. And it's just like, people, what are you waiting for? And, you know, a lot of people are trying the holistic alternative first these days. And to each his own, that's up to them. But I just can't believe. I mean, hearing and seeing is believing, but it's just like, wow, all these amazing stories that you're able to help so many with so many different
Yeah.
conditions, or, you know, I don't know if what do you want to call it, you know,
Yep.
problems or
Yeah.
whatever. But this is
I'll even,
good.
yeah. I want to say too, you know, I even take it further. I don't know if I've mentioned in my prior podcast, but when I discovered the truth of what was going on, I wanted to
Mhm.
share this information with people so they could make their own decision. You know, just another view of someone who was in the front lines, you know, dealing with people before their vaccination and dealing with them after their vaccination. And I needed to have a voice. So at the time, I didn't have a podcast to talk to, but I did have books to write. So I
Yeah.
wrote 5 books. It was supposed to be one book, but I had so much to say that I ended up splitting it into five
Wow.
different books. And I don't know, did I mention to you that I had them published on Amazon, and then Amazon literally wrote me a letter saying, "You're terminated for life. We are not publishing your books." And then they threw them off. And so then I have 2 other ways for people to get my books. Um,
Ah,
but I had to create a iPhone app, one called Free Speech Audibles, and this is an app that you can literally download today on your cell phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone app, because it allowed me to you know, put my books as audibles. You can listen
mm-hmm.
without having a physical book. That was the first thing I did. I, you know, and of course, yeah, they came after me and you can't use audibles. And I'm like, okay, I will use audibles with two B's, so we're really different here. So it's free speech audibles with two B's, and you can listen to the books that I wrote, and they're really informative. To be honest with you, it will really wake a lot of people up, and I think a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people aren't taking just what they hear at face value on the news is, not. It's twisted, but the information that I wrote in my books are now available on free speech audibles as an audible. You can listen to them, and then we do have on another site, um uh free Sky Angelou Publishing has my books up. I do use a pen name because I think that was smart.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so now people can get my books, they can read them. It's kind of a little late in the game, but I think we can all learn something. And I had a lot to share. And I have a lot of stories, true stories in those books that I did share. But they came from my heart, and I didn't have to
No.
spend time and money to write anything or share anything. I
Yeah.
remember in the beginning we lost a lot of friends
Mm.
because we made choices that were different than everyone else, and it was sad, that there was yet another thing to divide us as people, as humans. First, we have race, which was dividing people, and then
Yeah.
we have gender dividing people, and then dividing people of who took the vaccination and who didn't take the vaccination, and just all this division, 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 and then this de-identification, trying to de-identify. I mean, if we're wearing a mask, it's very hard to identify, us as humans. I mean, there was a lot of effort to segregate us, de-identify us, and there's continuing things that are doing that. And we just have to remember that we are all connected. We are all part of the same source. We are all human, and I truly believe that each and every one of us are good people inherently. So those are my beliefs. Even despite all these things, it's we live in a very challenging time, a very corrupt world, unfortunately, and I do have kids, and it's very scary for them, to, like, oh my gosh, I brought my kids up without you know them listening to the radio, the news, newspapers, because I didn't, they don't need to be tapped into anything more negative, and anything that is worthy of hearing, you're going to hear it. Trust me, my kids heard of 9/11 crashing down. But there's a narrative that gets spun, and then it's not always true. And there's a great if you have you ever heard of the Y Files? You can look on
No.
Netflix. It's WHY Files. I would advise anyone to go and listen. And this guy has his own kind of channel,
Okay.
and it's actually he presents things in a very light way. He actually has this little goldfish who, like, makes fun and talks, and you have to see this because you will get a new perspective on the moon landing, 9/11, all types of different things. And it will show you another side that, he does a lot of research. He presents things with facts, and he's sometimes able to debunk things, and sometimes he's not. But it's a very educational but light show that can kind of give us another perspective. So I definitely recommend people to tap into that if you're kind of questioning, like, well, where do I get a little more, or maybe a different perspective on maybe something that has happened in the past, etc. So it's a good show. I highly
Wow.
recommend.
Right. And I know we talked a lot about these modalities of you helping people with health issues, but there's also this aesthetic side to you too. I was reading before. I didn't even realize this since we spoke, but you also do like non-invasive type of cosmetic treatments, right? I think I read something about like a fat transfer. You do. What is the aesthetic section of your entity?
Yeah, so we have something called the Ultra Slim. It's a very advanced technology. It's actually the only FDA approved technology to deal with fat loss. Other technologies you might have heard, like Cool Sculpt or whatever, they actually destroy the actual cell, and there is no how do you say, bad side effects about the Ultra Slim technology.
Okay.
What it does is it is a light, it's a certain frequency of light that, when placed close to the body, it will open up the fat cell, and this fat will travel out of the cell into the body, and then you flush it out. You're drinking water, it goes through your lymphatic system. You're urinating out the fat from your body. And literally, we can guarantee 1 to 3 inches per session. We've had people who've had, over 4 inches per session. It's a costly, uh, it does cost about $500 to $600 per session. But, like, for people who have man boobs or those muffin tops, or actually struggle with fat loss. We've actually had a lady who lost 50 pounds of fat. Took her 2 months, but it's a very natural way. And you might wonder, like, okay, why did I even get this sort of thing? Did you know that in our
Mm.
fat stores trauma, and our fat
Oh.
stores trauma? So by releasing fat out of our body, we're also releasing trauma.
Oh.
You notice, like, people who are overweight, they have dealt with and experienced a lot of trauma, and it is stored in their body. So by releasing that fat, they're also able to release those traumas. And another fact, when we are having more and more toxicity in
Yeah.
our body wants to protect us. So what that does is the fat tries to go around those toxins, and the more toxins you have, the more fat, gets wrapped around. So toxins are stored in our fat. So by releasing fat,
Yeah.
toxins can get out of our body. Um, so, I mean, you clearly are very healthy. You don't have a single fat ounce on your body. You are beautiful, and an example of how we should look. So it is a great alternative for people to not have to go under the knife, get liposuction surgeries. I do believe people should look and feel their best.
Yeah.
There are, like I said, there are ways, and we do offer a way for people to get rid of that fat where it's non-invasive, is safe, and the best part, it doesn't hurt. There's no pain whatsoever. It's actually very relaxing. People fall asleep all the time. It's super relaxing. And then, in addition, the light creates collagen. It tightens the skin. I've been working on my neck. As I get older, we start to get loose skin. So it's a nice way to keep ourselves looking youthful and tighten our skin. So that is one of our technologies that definitely kind of still, it has good reasons, for the trauma, for the detoxing, but it also is great, to help us be more confident and feel better about ourselves.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for being here, for joining us. Let me ask how we can reach out to you.
So one of the easiest ways, we all still have phone technology, 818 914 6924. We have a live person who answers the phones. We also encourage you to go to one of our websites. It's called yourfrequencyhealing.com. This is kind of the new way we like to work with people, because it doesn't limit you for having to be in California. You can be anywhere in the world, and you can reach out to us, and we can give you, like, we can have a Zoom call, we can have a consultation, and then we can also start off by getting to the root cause, understanding not only what you're dealing with, but also we have technology that can use a signature that is part of you, your DNA, your voice print, your photo, or you could send in DNA, but we can literally put that in our technology and see what is going on and get to the root cause of it and advise of you of what protocol you might be doing. A lot of times we'll just send frequencies to you, whether you can listen to them or we can work on you through energy. And because we are energy, we can work through energy to change energy. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And we will hopefully connect again next week. And wait, what's next week? Wait, I think I'm on vacation next week. I'm not here, so maybe we'll be with someone else or we'll be back the week after.
Yeah,
But all right,
sounds
you
good.
enjoy the rest of your day, sweetheart. Thank you
It's a
again.
pleasure always. Thanks
Bye.
again.
Same here.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.